Did you know that strawberries are a perennial plant, but that they won't produce fruit forever? In fact, most varieties of strawberries are going to give the most production in just the first few years of their growth. What that means is that you'll need to replace your strawberry plants on a regular basis. Join me today as I show you how to revitalize a strawberry bed. Hi, I'm Gardener Scott, and this is one of my strawberry beds. These are Quinault strawberries. I've been growing this variety for about 25 years. In fact, I've been growing these exact plants for about 25 years. That's because the best way to revitalize your strawberry bed is with the strawberries you already have, allowing the runners to set root and then taking those small plants and moving them to new areas of the bed. You'll need an area to put the new young plants. Easiest way to do that is to go ahead and remove all of the plants from one side of the bed. So half of this bed is bare, ready for planting, and the other half is made up of old and young strawberry plants. Starting with a bare patch is not only good because you can decide exactly where the new plants are going to go, but it also gives you an opportunity to revitalize the soil. In most of our perennial beds, we put the soil in, then we put the seeds or the plants in, and there's very little we can do to amend the soil after that. By rotating our strawberries every few years, it gives us the opportunity to go ahead and add fresh soil. This fresh soil not only adds more nutrients for the plants to use, but when you use a lot of organic matter in your soil like I do, the level of the soil will drop in the beds. And the level in this bed has already dropped about 5 inches from when I filled it. So now I'm replacing the volume, I'm replacing the nutrients, and I'm giving the new plants a fresh start in good soil. When you look at these strawberry plants, you can notice that it looks like they're growing in big clumps. And that's exactly what I wanted. That will serve our purposes very well. Each of these groupings of strawberry plants will be an old mother plant that may still be producing some fruit, but next year and the year after may produce nothing at all. And then around that mother plant, the runners have extended and rooted, and those young plants are the ones that we're going to move to the fresh half of our bed. You can see that here. When I pull back the leaves, I see one strawberry plant here, another very young strawberry plant here, and then a series of plants around the edges of varying sizes. So what we're going to do is start by digging out these young strawberry plants. And so we'll move these to the other side. As you prepare to dig out some of the little plants, they may still be connected to the mother plant. So go ahead and snip the runners so that you can free up the plants that you want to dig out. Some of the plants may look like they're new plants, but after digging them up, you may notice that there's some woody stem or the top of the crown that is brown and woody. That shows that these plants are probably a year old. I can still transplant them. It's just I'll get one less year of growth out of this one. Since it's already out of the ground, let's go ahead and transplant it. With my strawberry plants ready to go, let's go ahead and get them in the ground. These very young ones that are nothing but roots, no woodiness, I'll put on the end. This will help me identify later on what I'm doing with these plants. And it's just a simple process of transplanting, just like we would transplant anything else. Now I'm going to put them about 12 inches apart. This bed is about 1.5 feet. And then I'll continue moving down the row, putting these strawberries in about every 12 inches. The idea being that these will become mother plants in a couple years. And I'll let them send out runners and fill in all of the space between these plants all the way up to the edges. We don't want to go too deep. This woody part of the crown that the plant is coming out of these slightly older plants, we have to be careful about planting this too deep because it can rot. So use the roots that are coming out as a guide. We'll put this in the hole and then we will bury it just to that point where those roots are emerging from the stem. The same with this one. You can see that it was growing at a slight angle. So as we bury this, we'll go ahead and try to follow that angle as well so that we avoid planting too deeply. You have a little more latitude with the brand new young plants, but strawberries are something that really shouldn't go in very deep. With the sun shining, and it's a relatively hot day, I'm going to go ahead and water as soon as I get a few of these plants in the ground. Strawberries are very durable. They're sold as bare root plants, so they're not going to die in just a couple minutes that they're exposed to the sun, but I don't want to add any undue stress. So I'll go ahead and give them a drink. This will also help the soil settle in around the roots, and then I can go ahead and continue moving down the bed. As I get to this clump right here, it's obvious that there's a whole bunch of plants growing side by side. This is the main mother plant, and I'm going to go ahead and pull this whole thing out. You can see that this is a pretty extensive root system. There are a number of individual plants here, but they're all connected. There is some fruit, and maybe next year I would have fruit again, but by clearing this out, allowing me to add more soil to raise the level up to this middle part, I'm really setting myself up for success over the next couple years. Along the way, if you find a strawberry, you got to eat it. These are my favorite. Now I could continue and remove all of the mother plants moving down to this half, but I like to do this in every 2 years, every 3 years as a cycle. So I'm going to leave these mature plants in place, and then next year I'll do this process over again. If I don't have enough of the young plants, all I have to do is search in here and find something that has a runner attached to it, and then go ahead and dig it out. And so this young plant is going to join the rest on that side. And I'll continue doing this until I fill in the space for this revitalized section. They're attached to runners. Cut the runner, and I have another one too. I ended up putting in 12 of the young strawberry plants in about a half of this bed. I'm doing this in late summer. The runners were sent out a couple months ago, and so these young plants, have about 2 months worth of root growth. I want to give them another 6 to 8 weeks for the roots to become established before my winter sets in. Now, in my Colorado Zone 5B garden, these strawberries are very durable. But one of the reasons for that is because they can get established in the ground before the snows come. That's a big reason why I'm leaving that other half of established plants. If something goes wrong, if these plants don't get established, or if they don't survive the winter, I've got a backup in the other half. I've never had an issue, but you never know. I like to use a pine needle mulch around my plants. So for these young ones, I'm using a blend of pine needles and crushed leaves, and I'll give a little bit of space around the plant to grow. And this will help keep the soil moisture and the soil temperature a little more stable so that these plants can get established and really start growing some nice root systems. With the mulch in place, now I'll give this whole section a really good soak so that all of the soil settles down around the roots, around the mulch, and it gives this whole area a nice soil moisture so that as those roots grow, they've got some place to go. And I'll continue watering on a daily basis to keep this soil evenly moist until these plants get established. I'll also keep an eye on them. If I notice that they wilt and don't recover, I might need to replace the plant. Or if the leaves all start turning brown, then they probably didn't survive the transplant. It's okay, because I've got lots of replacements on the other end. I'm also going to be renewing this strawberry bed. In this bed I have Cavendish growing. It's a June-bearing strawberry that just doesn't do well in my climate. After trying for years, my harvest has been almost zero. So all of these plants are coming out. Then I'll put in the new, fresh, amended soil, and then I'll plant these potted strawberries in this bed. Now this is TriStar, a variety that I know will do well here because I'm already growing it in another bed. Instead of letting those runners root and then digging up the plants to transplant, I went ahead and directed the runners into these pots with soil in them. Now all I have to do is put them in the ground as a potted plant, leading to great success, less stress on the plant, and these roots should get established in very quick time. By doing an entire bed like this, I now allow a new strawberry schedule to be developed. I know that next year half of that bed needs to be renewed. The year after that, I can do the other half of that bed, maybe half of this bed, maybe both. From here on out, every year, I know that I'm going to be renewing the plants in all of my strawberry beds at one point or another to keep that production up. That's the whole point. We don't want these plants to get so old that they're not producing the strawberries like they should. The young plants do very well, especially these ever-bearing varieties that I grow. If you want to see more about planting and propagating, watch one of these videos next. I'm Gardener Scott. Enjoy gardening.